Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
On April 21st, 2025, Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88, just hours after delivering his final Easter message.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius.
In his last public appearance, he called for peace and compassion, emphasizing the importance of religious and personal freedoms.
Della cerimonia di leggere il messaggio.
This final act has sparked renewed interest in the ancient prophecy of the popes, a 12th century text that some interpret as predicting the end of the papacy and the world.
Back in 2013, Francis was elected after just 2 days.
Venga il tuo regno, ma liberaci dal male.
As the world mourns, questions arise. Did Pope Francis's final message hint at a deeper, more ominous truth? Join us as we explore 20 mysterious chapters connected to his final days. 1. The final blessing.
Della cerimonia di leggere il messaggio.
Pope Francis gives Urbi et Orbi blessing on Easter Sunday 2025. On Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2025, Pope Francis appeared on the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica to deliver his Urbi et Orbi blessing.
Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius.
Despite his frail health, he spoke with conviction, calling for peace in conflict zones like the South Caucasus and the Western Balkans, and urging global disarmament. Vatican. His voice, though weak, resonated with a profound sense of urgency. This unexpected appearance just hours before his death has led many to speculate about the deeper significance of his final message. Was this blessing merely a farewell, or a cryptic warning of events to come? As the world reflects on his words, questions arise. Did Pope Francis know his end was near? And if so, what truths was he trying to convey in his final moments? 2. The prophecy of the popes.
Dal sepolcro vuoto di Gerusalemme giunge fino a noi in questo giorno di festa. Pensiamo al Caucaso meridionale.
In 1139, Irish Archbishop St. Malachy supposedly received a divine vision, a list of 112 Latin mottos describing every pope from Celestine II to the very last, ominously dubbed Patris Romanus. The final entry warns, in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, Peter the Roman will reign, and the city of 7 hills shall be destroyed. Pope Francis, born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, is not named Peter, yet many believe he fulfills the role metaphorically. He is the first Jesuit pope, the first from the Americas, and adopted the name Francis, patron saint of the poor. As the church faces division, scandal, and dwindling faith, could these signs point to a deeper eschatological unraveling? Was Pope Francis fully aware of this prophecy? Some insiders claim he read St. Malachy's full text, sealed in a Vatican vault, and if so, why did he never speak of it publicly until now? 3. The third secret of Fatima. The year was 1917. 3 shepherd children in Fatima, Portugal, received a series of visions from a radiant woman cloaked in light. The Virgin Mary, they claimed. She delivered 3 secrets, 2 revealed in the 20th century, but the third was hidden until the year 2000. When the Vatican finally released it, it described a bishop in white climbing a mountain amidst corpses, only to be gunned down. The church claimed it symbolized the 1981 assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II, but some experts, and even former Vatican insiders, insist that wasn't the full message. Reports suggest a second, unreleased part warned of an apocalyptic schism within the church itself. Now, with Pope Francis's death just after delivering a cryptic Easter message, many wonder, Was he the bishop in white? Was the vision never about the past, but about our future? 4. The Vatican's Secret Archives. Beyond the bronze doors of the Vatican Library lies a heavily guarded vault, the Apostolic Archive, formerly the Secret Archives. Stretching over 50 miles of shelves, it contains correspondence with kings, lost gospels, and possibly forbidden prophecies. In 2020, Pope Francis declassified key documents on Pope Pius XII's WW2 roll, but some say this was just a distraction. According to whistleblowers, deeper within are texts even popes feared to read. Ancient writings from the Council of Nicaea, coded transmissions from the Inquisition, and encrypted predictions of humanity's end. Rumors persist that Pope Francis personally reviewed these files in his final year. What did he find? Was his last Easter message not simply a plea, but a veiled warning, extracted from a past we were never meant to see? 5. The Foiled Assassination.
Pope Francis has revealed in his forthcoming autobiography that he was targeted by suicide bombers during his visit to Iraq.
In 2021, during a high-risk visit to Iraq, Pope Francis narrowly escaped death.
Attacks were planned in 2021 during his visit to Mosul, where Iraqi Christians had been killed or driven out by Islamic State fighters.
Intelligence intercepted chatter about an ISIS-linked suicide bomber targeting his mass in Erbil. The world was never told the full story. According to leaked Vatican security documents, there was a second attempt inside the Apostolic Palace, just days before his return. It was covered up. No arrests were made. Was this a warning from forces within or outside? Sources say that after the attempt, Pope Francis drastically changed. His public appearances decreased, and his writings took a darker, more reflective tone. Did he believe he was living on borrowed time? And if so, why did he wait until Easter 2025 to speak his final truth? 6. The Last Conclave's Echo.
Habemus Papa.
Announces a pope has been chosen.
But Pope Francis is also a staunch traditionalist. He's compared abortion to a death sentence and called gay marriage destructive of God's plan.
When Pope Benedict XVI resigned in 2013, the first papal abdication in 6 centuries, it shocked the world.
Cardinal X will say to Cardinal Y, I've been talking about this to Cardinal Z.
The conclave that followed elected Cardinal Bergoglio, humble, unorthodox, yet fiercely intelligent. But what happened in that Sistine Chapel, behind locked doors?
Back in 2013, Francis was elected after just 2 days.
According to a cardinal who later defected from the church, Francis was not the expected choice. He was elected amidst a sharp ideological battle between traditionalists and reformists. Allegedly, he was handed a dossier, a list of enemies both inside and outside the church.
Venga il tuo regno, ma liberaci dal male.
Was he chosen, or was he installed as a counterweight to something far more ominous? In his final address, he hinted at betrayal. "The wolves are among us," he said. Who were these wolves, and did they silence him? 7. The Pope's final meeting.
For 2.4 billion Christians around the world, Easter 2025 sees rare unity.
These are for your children.
Despite
every day. God bless you.
On the morning of Easter Sunday, hours before his death, Pope Francis held a confidential meeting with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. The Vatican press office released a brief statement, a discussion on religious liberty and humanitarian priorities. But insiders describe an unusually long private session, over 90 minutes, with no aides present. What could the dying pontiff possibly have told an American politician in such secrecy? One source close to the Apostolic Palace claims the Pope handed over a sealed envelope labeled Veritas. Another insists they discussed a moral threat to all faiths emerging from within the West. Was this meeting about politics or prophecy? Some suggest the Vatican wanted his warning preserved through secular means, should the Church itself suppress it. But where is that envelope now? And why hasn't the vice president spoken publicly about their encounter? 8. Hope, the memoir that shouldn't exist.
The man who leads 1.4 billion Catholics says while there have been many problems, and he explains why he invited that group of world-famous comedians to the Vatican last June.
In early 2025, Pope Francis published a memoir simply titled Hope. Unlike papal writings of the past, this one wasn't vetted by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. He bypassed Vatican protocol, insisting on full editorial control. Critics called it unconventional, supporters called it courageous. But theologians noticed something stranger: chapters alluding to false shepherds, a coming schism, and a light hidden beneath Rome. One line stood out: "There will be a time when the church forgets who she is, and then the world will forget how to pray." Was this poetic metaphor or cryptic foresight? In the days before his death, he reportedly told his secretary, "The memoir is my confession." What was he confessing? What part of the truth was buried in hope? And who might try to erase it now that he's gone? 9. The Black Pope. For centuries, conspiracy theorists have whispered of the Black Pope, not a literal description, but a title. The superior general of the Jesuits, often said to wield more power than the Pope himself. Pope Francis was the first Jesuit to ever ascend to the papacy. Some saw this as prophecy fulfilled. Others saw danger. According to leaked Vatican letters, high-ranking clergy feared Francis would expose secret Jesuit initiatives tied to global influence, AI ethics, and even cosmological anomalies hidden in observatories like Mount Graham. Did he see too much? In his last years, he reportedly distanced himself from the Jesuit Curia. Was this fracture theological, or something far more personal? If the Black Pope still exists, was Francis his rival, or his final warning? 10. The Angel of the Vatican.
I personally think that his position is untenable because he has now a catalogue.
For decades, there have been rumors of a mysterious Vatican insider known only as the Angel. First mentioned in intercepted documents during World War II, the figure was said to leak information that preserved the Church's integrity during its darkest hours. In 2023, journalist Laura Vieri claimed that Pope Francis revived contact with the Angel, or someone assuming that role. Leaked emails suggest he received information about an underground movement of rogue clergy aiming to form a neo-papal doctrine, one that would nullify centuries of church law in favor of a globalist ethic. If true, this movement may already be active. Francis's death could have been the moment they were waiting for, but the Angel's final message to him, decrypted from a private server, ended with a haunting Latin phrase: "Finem locer," I speak the end. Was this a warning or a farewell? 11. Project Lucifer. Hidden atop Mount Graham in Arizona lies a Vatican-owned observatory, home to a device chillingly nicknamed LUCIFER. Officially, it stands for Large Binocular Telescope Near Infrared Utility, cooperated by the Vatican and several universities. But insiders claim its purpose extends far beyond astronomy. In 2023, leaked cables allege the observatory had tracked a non-planetary object moving irregularly through our solar system. Pope Francis, briefed on the findings, reportedly convened a silent summit with top Jesuit scientists. His words were cryptic: "We are not alone, but not all that is out there is divine." In his final Easter speech, he made a strange appeal to those who gaze at the heavens: stay grounded. Was it a veiled reference to this technology? What did the Vatican's telescope see? And what did it fear? 12. The Vatican Bank Blacklist. In 2024, a whistleblower leaked internal documents from the Vatican Bank, detailing an ongoing audit personally ordered by Pope Francis. What it uncovered was shocking. Shell companies tied to arms trading, hidden donations from intelligence agencies, and coded transfers from unknown sources in Eastern Europe. One memo referenced something called Operazione Nero, an alleged financial strategy to prepare the Church for collapse. Days before his death, Pope Francis dismissed 3 top financial administrators and halted several offshore transactions. Why? Who was pulling the strings? The final audit report was never published, but rumors persist that it named sitting cardinals as collaborators in a global scheme. Francis died before it could be made public. Did he die of natural causes or political timing? 13. The Secret Synod.
It's pretty fascinating that the Vatican has accumulated such an immense stash of artwork. It's really mind-blowing.
In 2022, a synod, an official Vatican gathering, was quietly held behind closed doors with no press coverage. Its topic? The rising number of supernatural reports within the Church. Marian apparitions, weeping statues, demonic possessions, and inexplicable phenomena from parishes in Latin America and Africa. Pope Francis, according to leaked internal minutes, expressed concern about a spiritual instability spreading through the faithful. He reportedly said, "We face not only doubt, but distortion. The supernatural is no longer in our control." Days later, Vatican officials seized relics from a Honduran convent and destroyed unapproved devotional items. Why the sudden crackdown? Was the Church losing control over something it once claimed as divine? And why did Pope Francis include a cryptic line in his Easter homily? Beware those who claim light, but cast long shadows. 14. The Pope's Whisper Room. Inside the Apostolic Palace is a little-known chamber called the Whisper Room. Created by Pope Pius XI, it was acoustically designed to prevent eavesdropping, a place where popes could unburden secrets to trusted confidants or record private thoughts. According to a retired Swiss guard, Pope Francis used it frequently in his final months. He recorded at least 5 tapes, never meant for the public. The final tape, made the night before Easter, was mysteriously labeled Finis Temporis, the end of time. Vatican officials claim no such recording exists, but a hacker group called Lucerna Veritas claims they intercepted fragments from a Vatican network, distorted Latin phrases, sobbing, and one chilling line in Italian: "The veil is thinner than they know." What was Francis confessing, and why was it buried so quickly? 15. The disappearance of Sister Lucia II. Sister Lucia, one of the original Fatima visionaries, passed in 2005. Or did she? In 2010, a Portuguese journalist published shocking claims that the woman buried under Lucia's name was not the same nun seen in televised interviews in the 1980s and 90s. Side-by-side facial analysis suggests discrepancies. Ear shape, voice, height. Some claim the real Lucia died earlier and was replaced. But why? And who orchestrated it? Documents from the Vatican press office show that Pope Francis ordered a secret investigation into these claims in 2022. The results were never published. Instead, he simply told his closest aides, "The truth about Fatima has many faces." What did he mean? If the Fatima message was altered or silenced, what part of it was too dangerous to reveal? And why now, just after his death, does the mystery return? 16. The Jesuit Codex. In 2024, rumors emerged of a rediscovered codex hidden deep within the Jesuit archives in Rome, a handwritten volume dated 1603, bound in human skin. Referred to as Codex Veritas, the book allegedly contains forbidden theological insights, apocalyptic visions, and directives on how to manage global spiritual collapse. Sources claim Pope Francis had the Codex reviewed by a secret council of historians and spiritual advisors. Within it was a passage predicting a man of compassion wearing white, who shall weep at the gates of Babylon. Babylon, a metaphor for modern corruption? Francis later warned in a homily, "We may yet outlive truth if we ignore it long enough." What exactly did the Codex reveal? And if the Vatican knew, why did Francis face it alone? Was this the weight that broke him, or the message he died trying to deliver? 17. The Astronomer's Confession. Brother Guy Consol Magno, director of the Vatican Observatory, once made an eerie statement during a 2023 lecture in Prague. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it's stranger than we're allowed to say. Shortly after, he ceased all public appearances. Internal memos show Pope Francis met with him privately weeks before Easter 2025. According to a leaked transcript, the astronomer warned the Pope of patterns in cosmic radiation that suggest consciousness. Pope Francis, shaken, reportedly replied, "Then we are not the first, and not the last." What discovery could silence one of the Church's most respected scientists? What was so paradigm-shifting? It made its way into the Pope's final counsel to humanity. Remember that heaven is not only above, but within, and not always benevolent. 18. The Hidden Gospels. The Nag Hammadi scrolls, discovered in 1945, contained early Christian writings excluded from the canonical Bible. Among them, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Mary, and fragments suggesting a cosmic dualism between divine order and chaos. In 2023, a Jesuit archaeologist discovered new parchments in the Syrian desert, allegedly translated and studied under Pope Francis's watch. One fragment reads, "He who wears the keys must open the door, or it shall open itself." Scholars believe this refers to the papacy's burden to reveal truth before collapse. Francis, in his final memoir, wrote, "The Church no longer guards secrets, it guards silence." What was written in these Gospels that would shake faith to its core? And why did he hint at them without ever naming them? 19. The Order of St. Galen. Known only through a handful of leaked correspondences, the St. Galen Mafia was an alleged secretive group of high-ranking clergy who met in Switzerland in the early 2000s. Their stated purpose? To steer the future of the Church. Some say Pope Francis's rise was orchestrated by them to usher in radical reform, but others claim he turned against the order once he learned their true purpose. According to unverified reports, the order had ties to global political institutions, surveillance networks, and dark money alliances. Before his death, Francis reportedly wrote a letter, sealed and to be opened only if his successor acts without faith. What did he fear? And who now waits in the shadows, ready to shape the post-Francis world? 20. The Pope's Final Words. April 20th, 2025. According to those in the Apostolic Palace, Pope Francis's final spoken words were not in Latin nor Italian. He whispered in Spanish, "El fuego vendrá desde adentro." The fire will come from within. Medical staff say he died moments later. The Vatican released no comment. But the phrase now echoes among theologians and historians alike. Was it metaphorical? A final lament over the corruption within the Church? Or was it prophetic? Could it suggest something deeper? A spiritual reckoning? A force rising from inside the very institution meant to contain it? In a world hungry for answers, we are left with a dying man's cryptic warning, and the terrifying feeling that the story he tried to tell is just beginning. Why were these stories buried, dismissed, or forgotten? Because truth, when it threatens the foundations of power, is dangerous. Pope Francis spent his final years pulling back the veil, piece by piece. Through prophecy, science, ancient texts, and whispered warnings, he tried to tell us something the Church wasn't ready to say, and the world wasn't ready to hear. But his death doesn't close the door, it cracks it open. And now we are the ones left to decide. Was his final message a warning or a prophecy fulfilled? The question now is what comes next?